What motivates
Yes.
you to come onto the podcast? What's the point of it?
Well, I've actually I've been on other podcasts too,
Mm,
but this one I felt that because I wanted it to reach out specifically to stroke survivors as well, especially the new ones, so they can know that they're not alone. You can recover. It might not be 100%, but you can recover. And being in a wheelchair doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. You can still do so much in a wheelchair.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Hello and welcome to the Recovery After Stroke podcast. As mentioned in the last few episodes, I'm putting the final touches on my book and have made the first chapter available for free for anyone who is curious to check it out and wants to grab a copy. If you go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book and you fill out the form, you will receive the first chapter in your email a few moments later. The book is called The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, and it took 4 years from concept to completion. Now in the final stages, it will be available for sale in about 6 weeks from now. So go along to recoveryafterstroke.com/book, grab your copy of the first chapter free today. If you are a stroke survivor with a story to share about your experience, come and join me on the show. The interviews are not scripted. You do not have to plan for them. All you need to do to qualify is be a stroke survivor who wants to share your story. If you are a researcher who wants to share the findings of a recent study, or you're looking to recruit people into studies, you may also reach out and be a guest on my show. If you have a commercial product that you would like to promote that is related to supporting stroke survivors to recover, there is also a path for you to join me on a sponsored episode of the show. So whoever you are, just go to recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form explaining briefly which category you belong to, and I will respond with more details about how we can connect via Zoom. Now, this is episode 272, and my guest today is Joy Ali, who was a self-employed lawyer who had the signs of stroke for several months before she went to the hospital, but nonetheless was given the misdiagnosis of vertigo. Joy Ali, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
Where should I start? Well, okay, basically all this happened during the pandemic. And first of all, it started around February 2020. I went to a funeral because I lived in Tanzania. So this is from Africa to Scotland. So I lived in Tanzania, and in February, one of my friends from uni actually passed away. They had a heart attack at 42. Sorry, from high school. So I went to Kenya for the funeral, and in Kenya, the funerals in Africa, the funerals are not like in UK where they're just all subdued. There's a lot of crying. They're just so it was a lot to take in because there were also children there crying and everything. So I came back home and then I continued working, and then around May, I started having like dizzy spells. One day I just woke up and I had in the middle of the night and I had a really bad. I woke up and I had like a spell. It was like feeling dizzy, feeling hot and cold, feeling nauseous, feeling like I was going to throw up. And because it was during the pandemic, I thought maybe it was going to be to do with maybe COVID. The thing is, I was extremely careful because I'm asthmatic, so I made sure I was self-isolating. So I just thought, I've done all this stuff. I can't get COVID now.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day it calmed down. And then I continued working, and the more I continued working, the dizzy spells continued. And so I just thought, you know what, I'll go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and they referred me to an ENT specialist. And the specialist looked at my nose, and they said that I had vertigo. And so they just gave me anti-vertigo medication. So I continued working, but then I continued having the dizzy spells to the point where I just had to stop driving. I had to take like taxis to work. And at one point, I even like one time when I was driving, I almost like crashed my car when I was trying to park. And this was in the parking lot in the building. But then so I just thought there's something wrong. And so at this time, my partner, who was Scottish, he was in Scotland, and I told him all this stuff, and he was like, "I'm so sorry this is happening. I wish I could be there." And of course, at that time, the there were restrictions on traveling in Scotland, so you couldn't leave the country.
Mm.
And luckily, around August, that's when the airways were like open, so people could fly. And so my partner decided to come stay with me. And when he was there, one day he went to see a friend of his, and I was just sitting home watching TV, and basically I lost my vision temporarily. And because I used to wear glasses, and at the time I was wearing contacts, I thought maybe there was something wrong with my vision. So I made a note to maybe go see a what do you call it, opticians. And so I continued that, and then another dizzy spell happened, and I thought, what's going on? There must be something wrong. And then one day, about 5 days before the stroke, my partner was cooking me a meal, and I basically vomited. I thought, what's going on? Is it food poisoning? What's going on? Am I having these things? Then the last time I had the dizzy spell, I was actually in the pool with my nephew. My nephew was 6, and I was teaching him how to swim. I was in the pool, and I didn't want to scare him, so I just got off and I sat on the edge and just waited for things to calm down. The next morning, I woke up the next morning. I was supposed to go to an island with my partner, so he woke me up at 7:30 to go so we could go, and basically I had the stroke. Sorry, I forgot to say that the night before, I got up at 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom. And when I woke up, when I went to the bathroom, I switched on the light and I couldn't see. I looked in the mirror because, people just look in the mirror like just normal. And I looked there and I just couldn't see my reflection at all. It was
Wow.
almost like as if my brain had told me, like, there's nothing to see here. And I
But
tried to
you could
speak and
see,
nothing came out.
you could see walking through the house,
I
but you
could see
couldn't see your
myself walking
reflection.
through, but then when I looked there, it's like my brain said, "We don't want you to see this."
Ah,
I don't know what happened. And then I just tried to make a noise and nothing came out. And I thought, Joy, you're having a bad dream. And so I just went back and I went back to bed.
mhm.
Then the next morning when my partner woke me up, that's when the stroke had happened. So I think the stroke started happening around 4 a.m.
Mhm.
So all that time the stroke was happening and I didn't know, and I went back to sleep.
So did you work out what the underlying cause was?
They looked there and they couldn't find anything. And when it came here, they did all the tests to do with what do you call it, the bubble test to check if there was if I had a hole in my heart.
Mhm.
They checked my atrial fibrillation. They checked coronary arteries, everything. And I'm not underweight. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have what do you call it? I'm not diabetic. None of those things. In fact, before the stroke, I was 49 kilos. And then
That,
obviously,
yeah.
and I was always working out. I worked out 4 times a week. I did kickboxing,
Mhm.
and I believe it must be stress because of the nature of my job.
Okay. Can we talk about the nature of your job? What were the events like leading up to the stroke? So,
Well, I am a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer,
okay.
and I run my own firm. So
Okay.
during the pandemic, you can imagine it was difficult. All the companies are representing, they're all going mad, trying to find ways to keep their stuff going. At the same time, I had this due diligence I had to do. And my staff, some of them didn't want to go to the government offices. So I was running around trying to sort out everything out. My family wasn't taking COVID seriously. I was having panic attacks because of that. So all this stuff just kept building and building up.
Yeah. And how many people do you employ?
I used to employ 3 people.
Yeah.
I say used to because I recently closed my business
Ah.
after 5 years. But before that, I used to work in a law firm for about 12 years.
Mhm.
So then I decided to have my own business, thinking that things would be better. I would be calmer, but it was actually worse.
Yeah, it's hard running a business and managing people and keeping on top of
It is.
everything.
It is very hard.
So as a
And when you
result,
hear people saying that, I want to start a business, you're like, okay, good luck.
yeah, I completely understand that. Tell me about when you decided to make the decision to stop the business, to close it down. Was it what's clearly related to the whole situation, but is it because you have deficits as well that make it hard for you, or was it more of a lifestyle?
Yes. Yes, because I have cognitive issues. I have aphasia, and the aphasia is to do with expressive aphasia. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's a lot you need to be able to express yourself on the bat, just like that off the bat. I have problems with spelling, grammar, numbers. How am I supposed to build clients
Mm-hmm.
when I can't do simple maths
Mm-hmm.
properly? And also, so I decided after my stroke, 6 months after my stroke, I went back to work. 6
Mm-hmm.
months.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back, I couldn't even read legislation. It was just like the numbers, the words were just like all over the place. And it took me some time. I had to really learn how to read again properly. And then at the same time, so then when that happened, I decided to basically first suspend my license. Because I thought it's not a good idea to continue practicing when you've had a stroke. I didn't want to be sued I didn't want the professional negligence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I suspended it, and my staff who are associates, they all continued the firm. And then because I wasn't there, we weren't getting any clients because I was doing everything, marketing, running the business. I was wearing so many hats. So because they weren't doing enough marketing, we weren't making any money. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just paying salaries, but no money was coming in. So I just thought, you know what, there's no point in continuing this. Also because I was recovering and I was trying to recover and run the business at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Hard to do.
And obviously it wasn't working. Yes.
Yeah.
And doing it remotely.
And doing it remotely. Yeah, it's the trying to run the business and recover at the same time kind of doesn't work together. You have to do one or the other. And after you've had a stroke, you can't really do running the business the same way. And it does get in the way of the recovery if you focusing on other things instead of your recovery. I'm really interested to hear about your journey in kickboxing. I think that kickboxing is not necessary in life, that you do not need to do kickboxing. I see people perform the sport, they're athletes, they're amazing, they can take a beating, they can give a beating, but I don't understand how people can get involved in it at all. It just seems so bizarre to me. But tell me about your journey with kickboxing. To what extent were you involved?
Well, when I first started as a lawyer in one of the firms, of course, it was because when you're junior, they just give you so much work, and it was just becoming too much for me, and I was getting so stressed. I started getting problems with my back, and I was getting carpal tunnel syndrome, all these back issues, back muscle spasms. And so when I went to see a doctor in South Africa, they said, "Why don't you do a sport that's relaxing?" And you know, when you're kickboxing, your body has to be completely relaxed. And also, the other reason why I chose kickboxing was because I wanted to learn how to defend myself
Mm-hmm.
because I had issues in the past with an ex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay, combine two different things: self-defense and something that will find relaxing. Also, when you're punching the bag, if somebody annoys you at work, you just take it out on the punching bag later on.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you come the next day and you're in Zen.
Okay, that completely changes my view on kickboxing then. So it was a sport, it was relaxing, it enabled you to take your frustrations out. Did you compete at all? Did you get to the stage where you competed?
No.
Okay.
Because you can imagine competing and coming to work with a black eye and wearing a suit. Those two
Yeah.
don't work.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to competition level, but I was quite good.
Yeah.
And I think that actually helped me because when I was at the hospital, when they were trying to lift my leg to see how I was doing, I was quite flexible, and so they were surprised.
Yeah.
And they asked my sister, "Is she a ballerina?" And she said no, she kickboxes.
So you had real long reach with your kicking leg.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And people say I have a really mean left hook as well.
So are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed. So I
Uh-huh.
don't even know how that happened.
Well, so what you'll do is you use your right hand to set up the
Yes,
punch, and then you
yes. And
connect with
people
the left.
assume it's going to be right, and then it's just left.
Oh man.
Mm.
I especially started to struggle with martial arts and kickboxing and UFC, watching it particularly after my brain surgery. And
Mm.
I had the brain surgery, so my head was really tender. Even now I'm talking about it and it feels like I have to touch my head, to make it feel, I'm not sure, to protect it. And as soon as I had brain surgery and came home, and then I was very cautious about my head and people touching my head, I just couldn't understand why somebody else would willingly get into a ring and allow other people to try and hit them in the head. It was just so bizarre to me. I couldn't understand. I still can't. And I cringe watching those types of sports. But of course, I appreciate the athleticism. I mean, and the agility and the absolute just amazing human ability. I do. I totally appreciate it. I just can't watch it, Joy. It just makes me squirm and feel really uncomfortable.
It's not for everyone, but I still watch it now all the time, and I still box as part of my physio.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yes.
And how often, how many days a week were you at the gym?
I was basically there 4 times a week, and then during the weekends I used to do yoga and swimming.
Okay. Do you feel like that had a lot to do, all of the stuff that you did to take care of yourself? Do you feel like it had a massive role in your recovery? Did it
It
support
did to
your
a certain
recovery?
extent.
Yeah.
It did because I also ate well and all those things. And in terms of, I think it helped a lot in terms of the physio because
Mhm.
people are surprised how much I'm able to lift because I also do a little bit of weightlifting as part of my physio, and people are surprised how much I can lift because I'm
Mhm.
only 5'2", so a tiny person lifting quite a lot of weight. So they're surprised, and it's all because of the conditioning that my body had before.
Yeah. I think it's really a good foundation to have if you're somebody who's fit, um, and you put a lot of effort into maintaining your body and you're eating well and you're doing all those things, creates just a better environment to sort of start from in your recovery, rather than having an environment that's been unhealthy in the past, and feels like you already gave yourself a real positive place to go from. And you were doing it to protect your health. You were doing it to look after yourself and to stress less and to make sure you didn't get carpal tunnel syndrome and all these things.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
so isn't it interesting? Like, exercise is prescribed to avoid certain things,
Yes.
and also prescribed after stroke because it helps with
Yeah.
rehabilitation and it helps with the brain to recover.
Definitely. It is. And so I'm surprised when people say like they find it difficult, or people who are, I say, normal, find it difficult to exercise. I'm like, guys, it's going to help you in the long run.
Mm,
You might find it painful now, but in the long run, you really enjoy it and it will really help you. Even if you have an injury, it will really help you. Quite a
mhm.
good base for your recovery.
How did you go back to the gym? Did you find it easy? Was it difficult to go back after the stroke? Did it feel like it was harder? How did that go?
Well, basically, because what happens is I came here to Scotland and then I had a different physio from back home. So the physio I have is a sports physio. So he has some equipment there, and so I use it a lot. Also been to the gym a couple of times with my partner, but I can't go yet independently. I think it's probably a confidence issue more than anything.
Mhm. And you go to the gym with your partner because he helps you, he spots you with the weights, or he's your sparring partner?
No, he's just there so that I know I'm confident there's somebody there. But I'm gonna start going on my own soon. Because before I
Uh-huh.
used to go on my own all the time. I used to go to the gym at 6 in the morning.
Uh-huh. Is it
This is
because
back home.
you need somebody there in case something goes wrong?
No,
Ah,
it's just somebody there to just say, you're fine, you'll be fine.
uh-huh.
Because like when it's the first time you go to the gym as a woman, you get a bit nervous.
Uh-huh.
Because especially in the past, like my gym back home, it was like, sorry, but there was a lot of testosterone there. So when you went in, it was like all these men started looking at you, all these things.
Uh-huh.
But back then, because I used to kickbox and they knew that I kickbox, so as soon as I walked in, they just didn't mess with me. Then when I came here, it's just still that, so that confidence disappeared. And so when I came here, it's just like
Uh-huh.
you're still a bit nervous, worried that someone might try and hit on you or something.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay. And you originally started going to protect yourself as well because you were in a
Yes,
situation where you needed to protect yourself. Okay. So it's just going into a new environment and you're not certain about what goes on in there and what happens, and you have
yeah,
a previous history, and you figure, let's just take this slowly and easily and get to know what's happening, have somebody there with me. I think it's a good idea. There's nothing wrong with that.
yes.
Especially if
Because
it gets you back into the gym. I mean, that's a great idea if it's getting you back into the
yeah,
gym. Now, does your partner go to the gym and participate as well?
it's been twice.
So he just
I
turns
keep
up
trying
for
to get
you.
him back, and I'm like, please just come with me. And he's like, no, I'm fine. But so when I don't go with him, I just work out, flat. I just do it on my own. We have some weights, so I just use that. I use all my equipment that I have.
Uh-huh. So he just turns up just to make it possible for you to go.
Yes.
That's so cool in
He
itself.
does it. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does exercise.
Yeah.
I don't want him to think that I am saying something bad because he's going to hear this later.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's such
Mm.
a good thing. It's such a cool thing. Even though he doesn't really want to participate at the gym, he turns up just to help you
Yes.
do what you've got to do. It's
Yes.
so cool.
Yes.
I like it. I like it. So tell me about what it was like in the hospital system in was it in Tanzania?
Yes.
What was it like when you present to hospital with a stroke?
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
Well, first of all, there are no private public ambulances in Tanzania. They're all private.
Mm,
And when you call an ambulance, basically they ask you if you can pay first.
mm,
If you can't, find your way to the hospital. And because of that, right, and because he was the one who actually discovered me, and he didn't really know about ambulances, so he's the one that drove me to the hospital. Luckily, we went to a clinic. We were there for about half an hour, and they had no clue that I had a stroke. This was a clinic that was run. This was a clinic for expats, and they didn't know. Then they suggested we go to one of the hospitals, which we did, and luckily it was one of the really good hospitals in Tanzania. And as soon as we got there, it was almost like a scene from ER. I was wheeled in, and there were people standing over me, asking me questions, all this stuff, and then they just said that I had a stroke. because they did all the tests, initial tests there, and they discovered I had a stroke. Remember, I kept saying, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Like feelings, like feeling sorry for what's happened to me, even then. And then they said we have to do more tests, and then they took me to do the MRI, the CT scan, and all those other things. But then, as they were doing that, they were also telling my sister, like, prepare to pay, go get your insurance, and also before the insurance kicks in, you have to pay a deposit. Then she had to go get a credit card and then pay the deposit. And because this was all during COVID, and at that time they weren't really taking it very seriously, so I was at the back of my mind, I was still very nervous about COVID. Even though I'd had a stroke, but I was more concerned about COVID. They said, okay, you need to stay here, but we'll put you in a private room. So then I was in a private room for 6 days. So it's 6 nights.
So you've had a stroke, you're in Tanzania, you feel like the hospital system in Tanzania is not taking COVID seriously enough at that stage, and you're more concerned that you might contract COVID rather than the fact that you've been told that you've had a stroke.
Yes. Because of all the stuff we had heard we'd seen on TV about people getting COVID, and just because I'm asthmatic, so I was worried that it would go to my lungs and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about the stroke.
Yeah.
And also when I was there, the first night when I was there, I actually got up and started walking up and down the corridor. And the nurses were like, didn't she just have a stroke? I think it was just nervous energy. So then later on, they had to put all these tubes in me, and that stopped me from going anywhere.
So I can relate to that part. The first time that I ended up in hospital after the first bleed, I turned up and I didn't look like somebody who had a bleed in the brain, but in fact, there was a bleed in the brain. I was talking just like I am now, walking. My left side felt a bit strange, but I was in hospital for 7 days and there was a lot of waiting time in between. So I would just get dressed and get up and go down to the cafeteria at the hospital, and they'd be looking for me and they'd be saying to me, you can't leave your hospital bed. And I would be organizing with my phone for people to meet me at the cafeteria. So my friends would come and see me, would catch up, have a coffee, whatever. And I didn't take it seriously because of that. I felt like, well, I don't know what this bleed in the brain thing is, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. And I didn't really take it too seriously. But the doctors and nurses were freaking out. They couldn't believe that I wasn't in my ward. And it was kind of nervous energy, but it was also, I'm bored. I really need to be up and about. I was getting tired lying down, so I needed to stretch my legs. It was not the normal presentation of somebody who's had a stroke. And then people would come and visit me, and again, they couldn't connect it because they would hear he's had a brain hemorrhage, and they imagined that should be more serious, and they just weren't seeing it from me. And I couldn't convince people that I was unwell, and I couldn't even convince myself that I was unwell.
Well, I think the fact that you were meeting them in the cafeteria made them think that, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I was getting people saying to me, sometimes these things happen. One of the people who, one of my cousins said to me, boxers and UFC fighters and all that, sometimes they get small bleeds on the brain, and usually they go away and they recover and they're fine. So everyone's just was pretty relaxed about it, except my parents. They weren't relaxed about it. They were losing their marbles. But it was interesting. With the cultural differences, I'm curious to know how you guys go about things. So in my Greek family, when somebody has a stroke or any kind of minor or major incident, it becomes, everybody finds out about it in about 3 minutes, and then you're dealing with 1,001 questions about everything, and then there's constant phone calls, and it's a way that they get together to support you. It's their way of supporting you, but it becomes overwhelming and too much. What's it like with your family?
In Tanzania, it's different. Like when somebody gets sick, you won't know about it.
Uh-huh.
They just basically, it's like it's especially if it's something major like that, they just basically want to keep it to themselves. They will tell very few people. I
Uh-huh.
don't know why that is. It just feels like they need to just keep it as small as possible. So I didn't have not that many people knew about it. And even when I left Tanzania later on, still not that many people knew about it until I came here. And I set up my and I wrote something on my Instagram page. That's when they realized.
Wow. That's interesting. So is it what is it? You know, is it sort of, is it shame? Is it
It is.
uh-huh, pride?
It's a shame and it's like stigma. It's like, when you even when you had COVID, people were like looking at you and saying, I don't want to go anywhere near that person. It's like, remember when people first had HIV,
Uh-huh.
you
Yes.
didn't want to go anywhere near them. So it's like all those things. If you have HIV, if you have cancer, if you have all these things, people just don't want to go near you. They think it's catching.
Uh-huh. So people who are unwell, do they lack then the support that I got, that I thought was amazing but overbearing, but still amazing, where people rally around you and bring food and do all that stuff? Are you not, do you not have that? Is it at least your direct family? Do they get involved?
Um, Define direct family. I think if you say direct family, as in your immediate family, yes,
Yeah.
but
Um,
any other family members, no. And of course, I got the financial support, but that's
mm,
about it.
interesting. Yeah.
It's just one of those things that they just how do I describe it? I think they were a bit. It's part of the culture, and it's just something that just hasn't evolved yet with time,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
which is sad because there were people that I knew who had strokes, and I told my family they should reach out to them to get more information, so they could better take care of me, but they didn't do that. They didn't want that many people to know that I had a stroke.
I see. That's interesting. Does that make it harder for when people don't know that you've had a stroke because you're behaving a different way? You have cognitive issues, you have speech issues, and then I imagine you're still trying to communicate. Are you pretending that everything's normal, or are you actually letting people know who ask or who you run into that this happened?
Well, I would, because at the beginning they would see me in a wheelchair, or they would see me walking with like a limp or something.
Uh-huh.
But if I didn't tell them, they wouldn't say anything. So it
Okay.
was me who actually made people aware. But people, and imagine when I had the stroke, I reached out to some people who are stroke survivors, and they didn't call me back because I wanted to know, like, what's your experience? Can you tell me if all these things that are happening with me are okay? Is this normal? Should I expect this? But nobody actually came to me to tell me. Only one person came. It was to do with my emotional ability.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really the right way that they told me how to deal with it
Mm-hmm.
either. They didn't understand that it was normal.
Uh-huh.
It
Okay.
was only when I came here and when I read about it more from the Stroke Association, that's when I knew more about my defects. But in Tanzania, not really. But my partner was very good. He tried to get as much information as possible as he could because he became a full-time carer,
Mm,
my partner.
I see. So when you left from hospital, what were the deficits? There were some cognitive ones and there were some speech ones. What else?
There's the right side weakness. I had swallowing problems, which I still have sometimes, like when I'm tired or if I'm sick. I have sensory overload,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't help me the fact that I'm here in Edinburgh, in Scotland. And I also had, obviously, I have temperature issues. Sorry, temperature regulation issues. So
Mm-hmm.
that's temperature regulation issues. And I have some hidden ones as well. I have anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
But when people see me, obviously they don't see those hidden ones.
Yeah.
And those were
The
things that they didn't pick up on in Tanzania. None of them. Even our faces didn't pick up on that.
How long were you in Tanzania before you, after you left hospital and before you went to Scotland?
I was in Tanzania for 6 months, and then I came, and then we came over here, which was actually quite difficult because it was again in the middle of the pandemic.
Mm,
We had to go to Kenya first for 10 days, and then go to London, and then travel by car all the way to Scotland. 6
yeah.
hours.
Was the anxiety and depression something that you experienced before stroke, or is it something that occurred after?
Before the stroke, I was what you call highly functional and person with anxiety, but I was also highly functional. But I didn't
Oh.
know that. It's something that I'm learning now, but I didn't know that I had that then. I used to get a lot of panic attacks as well from work.
And you hadn't worked out that you had anxiety. You lived with the so-called condition or the symptoms of it, and you just thought it was you, normal life.
I mean, I knew there was something wrong with my body, but I just didn't really know how sometimes you hear about it, but you just don't think it applies to you. Till later when you sit there and you have time to read and you're like, oh, so that's what it was.
Mm,
Was luckily when you have this period of recovery has actually given me time to actually sit and read more. Because before the stroke, I used to read just anything stuff to do with law, nothing
mm,
else.
mm, mm. And the depression, how do you describe that? What is there something that has set that off because of the condition again, or is it something that was from the past? And how do you experience depression? How do you describe, would you describe it to me?
Well, with depression, I mean all these stuff. I'm actually taking medication for it as well,
Mm, mm,
and it's the doctors who actually, the doctor in Tanzania. I saw what do you call it? Therapist in Tanzania, and she was the one who diagnosed that I had PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Because when I was in Tanzania, I couldn't sleep at night when I came back home, as well because of the fear of getting another stroke. Because so every time when it was time to sleep, I just didn't want to go to sleep because I knew it was going to have the stroke. Would just stay up until 4 a.m., 5 a.m. The depression, I just didn't want to do anything. I was just didn't feel motivated. Felt like my world was crumbling. I just didn't want to do anything, and it actually affected my eating as well. So I just wouldn't eat as much, which is still a problem now because I've lost quite. I haven't lost that much weight, but considering that I'm quite small, it's actually quite a lot. My trainer, what's his name? My physio says that I've lost 30% of my body weight. So that didn't help either.
mm-hmm,
It's just feeling of doom and gloom, basically,
mm-hmm.
and
And the
feeling like you're like in a deep well that you just can't get out of.
so it's a feeling. Is it a thought or a feeling?
Feeling, and sometimes thoughts.
Mm-hmm,
There have also been thoughts of suicide
mm-hmm,
as well. That was quite bad because I remember when I had it, and when I finally told my partner, he freaked out. And I didn't tell him for a while because I was afraid. Again, with my thinking, I thought that now, when I was thinking about depression and suicidal thoughts, I was thinking about how it was back then. Because back then, when you had suicidal thoughts, they would actually take you and section you. I thought the
uh-huh,
same thing would happen now. Didn't want to tell him. When I told him, he was like, "Right, we're going to get you to see another therapist here right away."
mm-hmm.
I managed to find one.
Is your partner from Scotland or is he from back home?
He's Scottish. He's Scottish.
Uh-huh. Very different cultural approach to that kind of issue.
Yes. But luckily, he's actually because he took a year out once, and he traveled to parts of Africa, so he understands the African culture as well. So
Ah,
understands both worlds.
yeah. Okay. So he's confident, sort of reading between the lines, and understands what might be going
Yes.
on that's not obvious to the regular person who's not from or spent
Yes.
time in the continent.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. So how is your motivation these days?
Well, I just celebrated my I mean, when it comes, I just celebrated my 3rd anniversary. So you
Mm,
can imagine what it's like when you're the days before and the day of. Every year it's the same thing. You wake up and you worry that you're going to have another stroke,
hmm
all these things. Then luckily I've had people there who've helped me. And obviously sometimes I get a bit depressed. Like for example, when I was closing my business, but otherwise I've been quite motivated. I mean, when people see my Instagram page, they're shocked because I've done so much since I've had my stroke.
mm.
I've done wall climbing, I've done rowing, I've so many things. I'm always active, both in physio and out of physio.
And you've decided to share your story. You've come on a podcast. I was going to make a point of that because I do get a lot of people who tell me that they go through anxiety, depression, difficulty doing stuff and getting stuff, yet they somehow make an effort, A, to find the podcast, B, to come onto the podcast and share their story. What motivates
Yes.
you to come onto the podcast? What's the point of it?
Well, I've actually been to I've been on other podcasts too,
Mm,
but this one I felt that because I wanted it to reach out specifically to stroke survivors as well,
hmm
especially the new ones, so they can know that they're not alone.
Do you think there's a lot of stroke survivors who might be from a similar cultural background to you that might be listening and therefore be encouraged to take different action on their recovery and get
Definitely,
get over the stigma?
definitely, because you can recover. It might not be 100%, but you can recover. And being in a wheelchair doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. You can still do so much in a wheelchair. So remember when I used to be in a wheelchair and people would look at me, I'm like, what's wrong with you? And because the thing is, maybe I'm different, but I actually went to university to school in the UK when I was young and through uni as well. So my mentality is a bit more westernized.
Hmm
So when I go back home, I still struggle a lot with trying to adjust to an African culture and my Western upbringing. There's a
hmm
big clash there.
Yeah, I imagine it would be really difficult to try and traverse the world and see something that's simple to implement or to talk about in Scotland, for example, that would be very difficult to implement and difficult to talk about just a few thousand kilometers away in another direction.
I used to have such heated discussions with people about basic human rights. I'm like, but why? Why is this not allowed? And I'll be like, okay, I give up.
Yeah.
It's just the basic things that just people can't get their minds off. And this, and me, people who are even highly educated, they just don't believe that. There's still so many people who don't believe in therapy. People still think that certain diseases should be stigmatized. All these things,
Mm.
which is a shame. Because in the 21st century now, we need to like wake up.
Yeah. It is a shame. You do see that in some pockets of the great culture as well. You do see some people who will not share, will not tell you, everything is a secret, usually in the older generation. I think
Yes.
one of the good things about social media, perhaps, is that people, well, maybe people are oversharing these days, but there's still this desire to express and share. So people have a voice and they have a way to
Yes.
express it and they can find their community. I mean, the stroke community is the perfect community. We wouldn't have had this level of community
Yeah.
When I experienced my first brain hemorrhage in 2012, there was nothing like this. Surely there was some books, but to find them online and read books from other stroke survivors sharing was quite difficult. Now there's a proliferation of them because access to self-publishing is so good and it's effective and it's cheap and distribution is perfect because Amazon does it all. And it's such a different world that we live in literally 10 years. The things have changed so much that we're able to feel that it's beneficial to express. So we also feel it because we're doing something good for other people, and other people are reaching out to me every week and going, thank you for that episode. That was a great episode. I really appreciated listening to Joy, for example, or whoever else. And it's, I don't think I could be here without it. I actually, with this ability to share, if I couldn't do it, honestly, I don't know where I'd be today. I don't think I'd be around. It's just necessary for me to get on and talk about it almost every week because I interview 1 or 2 people a week. And when I do, I feel like I'm having a free therapy session every time, Joy. It's,
Yes.
I have to talk about it so much that I couldn't possibly talk to my wife about it this much because she's not equipped to listen to it all over and over and over again. And for example, if you were a stroke survivor and I spoke to you about it every single day, every single week, you would get sick of me as well. But the beauty of the podcast is I get to hear from you. We talk about it once and we both benefit from that. Our people listening and watching on YouTube benefit from that. And then I get to move on to the next person and have a therapy session with them. And then hopefully I'm doing the same for them. Hopefully it's a mini therapy session for them as well. Do you feel do you feel that when you get onto podcasts and talk about what you went through?
I do now because I remember at the beginning when I talked to people back home, a few people that I talked to, my partner used to say sometimes, Joy, maybe tone down the talking because you don't want to re-traumatize yourself. And I was like, but I need to talk about it because if I don't, for me, talking was almost like accepting that this had happened to me. Because if you just don't talk, they just festers in and you just don't accept it. So me, talking was a way to finally come to terms with the fact that this is my new life. This is who I am now. I need to embrace it. And the fact that there isn't a very good, a very big stroke community in Tanzania doesn't really help because after my stroke, when I moved here, people started texting me saying, "Okay, I'm sorry, but my brother or my uncle or somebody has had a stroke. What can I do?" They would ask me, so to call me all the way here, asking me for stuff, and I'm like, "How am I supposed to do that now? I can't remember. I can't remember which hospital you should go to or whatnot." But if there was a big stroke community, then you can easily reach out to them.
Yeah, people who have been through it before and know the lay of the land.
Yes.
Yeah. I do. And you're a lawyer, so you talk for a living, right?
Yes.
So you're really good at it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So you're good at it. It's a skill. And to not talk about something that's a topic that's important on your mind would be difficult. I encourage people to talk as well. I think it's one of the best ways to get through it. It also feels to me like it's a good way to support dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not sure because I've never had PTSD, so to speak. I know a few people that have experienced it. But does it help to calm that down, to settle the PTSD? How do you deal with PTSD?
Well, when I was in Tanzania, when I was in Tanzania, my partner tried to reach to a therapist, and they said that no, you shouldn't approach a therapist because it's not the African way. But he just said no, we're going to get some help for Joy because she's exhibiting symptoms of PTSD. So we found this one therapist who was Tanzanian. She knew how to deal with PTSD. she used a method called EMDR. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Tapping.
No, this was use your finger. EMDR, eye
I
movement processing. Yes.
yeah.
So then, when you're doing that, you have to talk. You have to recount the event that happened when you're having your stroke. Then you keep repeating it until it just becomes a story. I don't know how it happens, but somehow you train your brain to just think of it as a story rather than
Story.
a memory.
Yes, and then when you think about it next time, you're not re-traumatizing yourself every time you think
Yes.
about it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's what talking to nearly 270 people on the podcast has helped me do. It's definitely helped me to remember it as an event that happened in the past,
Yes.
but not an event that's continuing to happen to me every single day, even though I had 3 brain hemorrhages in the same spot, even though I had brain surgery and had to learn how to walk again and do all of that. I talk about it now and it's like I read it in a book. It doesn't feel like I went through
Yes.
it. And it's a bit strange actually to have a conversation with somebody about my experience because I no longer feel it. Although I'm left with the deficits, it definitely has left me with left side numbness and balance issues. And sometimes, my cognition is a little bit slower if I'm really tired.
Yes.
Last night we
Yes.
had a really late night and I woke up early this morning to come here. So all my deficits are telling me more.
Yeah.
They're going, hey, do less today. Don't do so much today.
Yeah.
I love that explanation
So
of
can I
what
ask you in terms of? Sorry.
I was going to say. I love that explanation of what EMDR does and how it changes the story about what's happened to you to not re-traumatize you. So for people that are watching and listening, EMDR, according to a Google search that I just did, is a psychotherapy treatment that aims to reduce distressing emotions associated with traumatic memories. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And how is it, Joy, if you can answer this? I'm not sure, maybe you can't. How is it that the eye movement helps to settle the PTSD?
I think when you follow one, I don't know, but I think when you follow the eye, you just focus on one particular thing, and somehow it's connected to your brain. I don't know.
Yeah.
The therapists know about that.
Okay.
When you were talking about your cognitive defects, you said you had a late night, and I was wondering whether you had sensory overload issues from your late
Well,
night.
I definitely did.
When you out partying.
I wasn't partying. I'll tell you what happened. So in Australia, we have Australian football. It's a little bit different to NFL, and it's very different from round ball football, what everyone else calls football. It's like a rugby, kind of like a rugby game. Anyhow, my team made it to the final and they won. So we were watching it here at my house, and we are the team is called Collingwood, and we are mad Collingwood supporters. Our whole entire family. My wife's side of the family happened to be Collingwood supporters when I met them, so it was just a bonus. So there's about 25 crazy Collingwood people just here, in this part of my world, my house, near my house. So we all got together with my parents, my in-laws, everyone was here and we're watching it. And I was screaming and yelling and it was emotional. And of course, because I have somehow a little bit of an inability to control my emotions, I think I discovered about pseudobulbar affect, where I cry at the drop of a hat now. I've been crying for 2 hours yesterday, I can't, during the game, just because one of our players did something. I mean, I'm tearing up now. Just because one of our players did something amazing, I would start crying, and everyone was giving me a hard time because part of the therapy for me is I cry, I don't hide it, I let everyone see. They all get uncomfortable, and then they start teasing me about it. Oh, look, Bill's crying again because somebody did something good in the game. And I just tell them all to get lost and leave me alone. And it's just how it works. It's become one of those things that we can joke about and laugh about because that's me now. That's what I do. I just cry at the football. So I am definitely overloaded. I can feel it physically in my brain. I can feel it, and I can feel that after this interview, I'm going to have to do nothing for the rest of the day. Like I said, I woke up at 7 a.m. to make this Zoom call at 8, and today's going to be a write-off, what I call a write-off. And our guests last night, they did not leave until 1 a.m, and I was hoping that they would leave earlier, but they wouldn't, and I couldn't tell them to leave. And when they left, I told my wife, why didn't you make them leave earlier? Why couldn't you get them out of the house a bit sooner? Not because I wanted them to go, because I wanted to be able to do this podcast and be in a good condition. So yeah, I do get sensory overload, and I have this particular room that I've set up in my house has been treated so that I've got a good sound for the podcast. So there's no background noise and things like that. It's like a little quiet room. And when I am feeling like there's too much noise and it's overloaded, my head's overloaded, I come in here, and even though I've got my computer screens up here and this is where I do my work and my recording and my editing, it's really quiet. If I close the door, you can't hear the outside world. It's just really quiet, and it helps me to calm my brain down and relax everything. So that's the long answer to yes, your question. I'm definitely overloaded.
I'm glad you said that too, because I think some people just don't understand the concept of it. So hopefully when they hear this about you and me, then they might understand more what sensory overload means.
Yeah. And I avoided actually going and watching my team for many years because it was too hard. It was too loud. And when I'm at the ground, so we had 100,000 people at the stadium yesterday. And when you go and watch my team, they regularly have 80, 90,000 people at their games. So it's just 3 hours of way too much information for a stroke brain to handle. So when people used to ask me to go to the football for many, many years after the first incident and then after brain surgery, I said no. And I have this memory of a event. So my whole health issue started in 2012, but I believe that there was an event in 2010. Okay. And again, it's related to the football. Again, my team made it into the final. It's a big deal because they don't get there that often when your team makes it into the final.
Yeah.
And it's like the playoff series for people that are from the United States who are listening. It's like the playoffs at the end of the year. So they come to the final game and they need to win the final game to win the championship, to be crowned the champions. And I'm at the final game in 2010, and it's in November, early November, and I'm watching the game, and I go home after the game because it was a draw. They didn't get a result. And in the old days, if you didn't get a result, you came back and played the next week.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I had a ticket. I was there. There was 100,000 people. I was yelling and screaming all day, and I was sick for the entire week after the game. The whole week I was sick. I couldn't stand up. I had nausea. I went to the doctors. I went to the hospital. They did a lumbar puncture. They scanned my brain to see if there was a bleed or anything wrong, and they couldn't find anything at that time. So the following week, I had a ticket to go to the game, and I had to give the ticket away to my dad. I said to him, I'm not going because I feel too unwell. You need to go. And I watched the game at home on my own so that I could not be in that space where I was going to, get the high blood pressure and yell and scream and give myself another headache, because this headache was like never a headache I've never had before. So I think that it was the first sign of what was to come nearly 1.5 years later when I ended up in hospital, because that blood vessel in my head that burst was there from birth. So it wasn't something that I created or that just happened later on in life. It was always there, and it was always waiting for something to go wrong. This arteriovenous malformation, that's what they do. They just sort of sit in the background until they start playing up. So, yeah, that question you asked me just reminded me of that whole part of the story. And yesterday makes me feel my head today's not as bad as it was in 2010, but it kind of reminds me of that event back then.
You know, it's funny you were talking about yelling and how it increased your blood pressure. Well, before the stroke, my blood pressure was actually on the low side, but unfortunately, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and get very frustrated, there was a lot of yelling. I was almost like, you know, the chef Gordon Ramsay.
Uh-huh.
It
Yes.
was a bit like that. Constantly yelling, frustrated with people. They needed to get everything perfect. They got something wrong, I would just get very upset. I would start like cursing, all these things. I would get angry when I was driving to work and back, road rage, all these things.
And
That's
at
why I
work,
did kickboxing.
at work as well.
Yes, this was at work.
Yeah,
Because when you have your own firm, you can do anything.
yeah,
Obviously, when you're employed, you just have to like keep it in, but you're still very frustrated. But when you have your own firm, you just go to your office and then you just start screaming or whatever.
yeah. I also did the anger thing, absolutely, and
Yes.
I've tried a lot. A lot of the work that I'm doing now with myself, to myself, is trying to not be as ridiculous as I was, angry, yelling, and screaming. And it's such a silly tool because it just it does achieves nothing. It just makes you rage, and it makes the other person shut down or rage as well. And
Yes.
in that state, you can't create anything meaningful or, you know, come to some sort of an understanding or an agreement. It's a really difficult way to try and can make communication work. I don't know why I go there, but I try not to. Kickboxing would definitely help with that. And a little bit of yelling and screaming at the television, I feel
Yes.
like does help release some of that stuff, but it still causes a headache. Like it's caused a massive headache.
When people see me now, they just see this docile person. I'm like, you should have seen me before a stroke. I was a completely different person.
Yeah,
You would have liked that person.
yeah. Would you have
But
been
I was also
difficult to?
confident. No,
I was going to say, would you have been difficult to work with?
only when I had my firm. But before that, I was brilliant because
Yeah.
I just had a paycheck. And that was it.
Mm,
Just had to do my work, look after my clients, and then go home. But when you have your own law firm, there's so many things that to consider:
mm,
paying taxes, paying salaries, dealing with staff when they have their own little disputes, all these things.
yeah. Dealing with clients and difficult situations
Exactly.
at work. Yeah, yeah.
Clients that don't want to pay,
Clients that don't want to pay. Yeah, yeah,
all this stuff.
yeah. That's terrible. Hey, I was wondering as we get into the end of the podcast episode, I was wondering if you could share with me what's the hardest thing about stroke.
Um, Trying not to push yourself too much,
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of the recovery.
Trying to not push yourself too much.
This is
Yeah,
for me
yeah. Fair enough.
because I'm still thinking with my old joy brain.
Uh-huh. And you have to take a different, slower approach to
Yes.
life. Yeah.
Yes.
What has stroke taught you?
It's taught me to slow down because I had my life was so chaotic before. It's taught me that overworking is not, it can be dangerous. Like you need to take time off, you need to rest. You also need to be kind to yourself. You need to be kind to yourself and love yourself because and appreciate the little achievements that you make, especially during the stroke journey.
Mm.
And also, if you have any issues, any anger, also any anxiety and anything, get help. Don't suffer alone.
Mm.
And also that love conquers everything. Without my partner, I wouldn't be here. I mean, we've been together for 9 years now, and he's looked after me for 3 years, and he's done everything. So I'm almost tearing up.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I love it. And if other people who are just starting the journey to recovery are listening today, what's the one thing you would like to tell them?
Don't give up. If somebody tells you you can't do something, try. You'll be surprised. And you'd be surprised how strong you are. Your mind can do so much if you push your body can do so much if you just put your mind to it. And don't worry about pain, because pain is required. Because some people worry about doing stuff during physio because they think it's painful. Well, you have to feel pain in order to get better. Just don't stop because of feeling something is painful.
Mhm.
Just keep going.
And on that note, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and reaching out to be on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill.
Thanks again for joining me on another episode today. Remember to grab your copy of Chapter 1 of the book, The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, by visiting recoveryafterstroke.com/book. Have a look around. The page also explains what the rest of the book is about, and then fill out the details and get your free chapter. As always, to learn more about my guests, including links to their social media and other pages, and to download a full transcript of the entire interview, please go to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. Thank you to everybody who has already left a review. It really means the world to me. I really appreciate it. It is really important that people do review the show so that the algorithms and the people who decide how popular a podcast can be see that there is a positive response to this podcast, so we can put it in front of other stroke survivors who are perhaps having a hard time. And what that might do is help them have a better stroke recovery. And that would be really amazing. Leaving a 5-star review at iTunes and Spotify would be amazing. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below the video, like the episode, and to get notifications of future episodes, subscribe to the show, and also hit that notifications bell on YouTube, because then it will notify you that the next episode is available. Thanks again for being here and listening. I really appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.